Stranded Deep released on console in April of 2020, and from that time to this, I've spent well over 200 hours combing through this game, making guides, walkthroughs on both PC and console. I've talked to the veterans who've been playing this game since the early access on PC. I've even talked to the players that have a gripe about this game, what their issue was, and why. So if you're on the fence about buying this game and you've heard good things and bad, this is the right review for you. Hello, everybody. I'm Granddaddy Gamer, and today we're going to spill all the dirt, good and bad, about Stranded Deep so you can make the right decision before you buy. The game starts pretty average with every other survival game with some sort of catastrophe or accident. And in this case, it's a plane accident. I thought this was done pretty well in the case of Stranded Deep, and honestly, the first time I played the game, this opening scene really had me from the start. But that's where it stops. The truth is, Stranded Deep has no storyline. And I can see the hints of a story, but whether the developers are going to be adding this into the future, I don't know. If you're unsure of exactly what I'm talking about, there's all kinds of hints of the story throughout the entire gameplay. You start out mysteriously from a plane accident. And as you explore the world, you find tons and tons of wrecked ships, planes, cargo carriers, even an aircraft carrier at the end of the game. This is what I mean by the structure of a story, but the story isn't there yet. And I hope that the development team has plans to add a story in the future because they have the makings of a truly great one. Storyline aside, the full PC version and console version are, as you would imagine, two different things. Now, the gameplay itself, the core of the game, is exactly the same no matter what platform you're on, but there are many things lacking in the console version that the PC has. And while that is not exactly new to any gamer, no matter what game or platform you play on, it is interesting to note there are some benefits to being a console player over a PC player in Stranded Deep. Things like the tool belt, which will add an object like an axe to your tool belt and remove it from your very limited inventory, will not remove it from your inventory on PC. You can hotkey up to 10 different items on PC, but it will not remove it out of your inventory. This is not the case on console, and on console it will remove it, but you can only hotkey up to 4 items. I much prefer when I play on PC the console's version of the tool belt over the PC version, but there are benefits good and bad on both sides. Where the features of the PC version really shine is in map creation. And as cool as it is to make your own custom islands, it is so much cooler to play with other players' created islands. The game on PC allows you to create and share your player-made islands with each other off the Steam store and other platforms, and add them to your own game. This adds so much fresh replayability to the game, and sadly, console version just doesn't have this. I would like to see this added to the console version in the future, and I think if it is, the game would have so much more replayability on console. If you couple that with added assets to the map creation on console, you have, in my opinion, what is already a good survival game could be truly amazing. I'm not going to spend the whole time just completely dumping on Stranded Deep. I did say I've spent the better part of a year doing walkthroughs, playthroughs, live stream community events and projects, tips, tricks, etc. I've talked to veteran players, I've talked to players who hate the game, just so I can figure out and understand the mindset of this game and what players thought of it. Where the game lacks in story, it takes off and truly shines in open world survival. The game in the beginning is quite difficult. You'll find yourself scrounging for food or water, and you'll get poisoned while trying to discover just how to survive. There's very little to no hand-holding in this survival game, which many survival game lovers actually prefer. This is evident in the first time you're running on the beach and you step on what you think is a starfish, and it turns out to be something that poisons you, and you're left trying to fight for your life. There's no health packs or med kits in this game, and there's only one way to regain your health. In fact, everything in this game, from the sun that beats down on you to the coconuts that you drink, is designed to try to kill you and end your run. And that for me is where the game truly shines, because a survival game is about the struggle. But that is only going to last for so long because eventually you're going to get settled. You're going to figure out how to build a raft. You're going to figure out how to farm. And once you have those items, it's really just about a big island base or exploring every inch of the map. The resource needs drive you to explore, and the game keeps you playing past the initial survival aspect of the opening hours of the game. This game shines and does it all well because if you are a survival game lover like myself, it'll leave you wanting to play it again. The crafting system is not bad at all, but after you level up to about 4 or 5, you're really not going to need to pay attention to your crafting levels again. I can't help but feel that there's a missing opportunity for some high end gear that could potentially craft at max level or at close to max level that just hasn't been implemented into the game yet. And as for the storyline that I talked about that is missing in the game, the bones in the structure of the story are present in the game. I would love to see something more closely along the lines of how Hinterland Studios did their Long Dark story mode. That was a deep, rich story and mixed easier survival aspects. This gave the player who's new to the game both an immersive story, but introduced the player to the mechanics of the game. It also gives the player who enjoys a more story driven survival game the experience that they crave. And for those, like myself, who just enjoy the open world survival, toss me into the world, let me sink or swim type of game, there's a survival mode as well. If Stranded Deep implemented something like this into the game, it would just make it so much better. I do find that the updates are pretty regular as far as my experience over the past year that I've been playing. And even though the Beam team is not a huge studio, they're really good at getting updates out with a number of quality of life improvements to console over time, which actually are pretty nice. I can say the same thing about the PC updates, adding quality of life things to the PC as well, and I do enjoy what they've added. There is no multiplayer in this game, and while I would love to play with my friends, I can't help but think that that's the whole point. The whole point is that you're alone and you have to rely on yourself. Like I said earlier, there is no handholding in this game. The crafting system is good and allows you to craft without having to have each item in your inventory. An inventory that you quickly learn is never big enough. High end building material like clay is pure aesthetic, allowing you to mix textures in your buildings that you otherwise wouldn't do if materials gave bonuses like cooling off quicker. And if you end up loving the game, but it starts to get boring, you can always come back with a new gameplay, set the settings to hard, and turn on permadeath. Permadeath mode will delete your save if you die. This makes the game in itself a real struggle. The difference between normal and hard is actually quite dramatic, and I have found myself playing the game again on hard mode and having an absolute blast while I struggle. So, is this game right for you? Should you buy Stranded Deep on whatever platform you're on? You have to ask yourself one question. Do you enjoy deep story mode survival guided games? Or do you enjoy a more open world, left to your own devices style of survival game? If you enjoy a deep story laced with survival, this is not your game. But if you enjoy the open world, leave you to your own devices, no hand holding games, you will like Stranded Deep. Chances are, whatever platform you're on, PC, Mac, Xbox, or PlayStation. This game is a great game made by a very tiny indie studio, and they've done a great job with this game. And it's not easy to put something together like they have on their first game. And while, yes, you could argue that there is no storyline in it or the map building on console is lacking compared to PC, the updates coming from this developer are constantly updating and improving the game and bringing quality of life improvements taken directly from suggestions of the players themselves. And this, to me, at least, is the makings of a great game and an even better developer. If they can do this caliber of a game on their first try, I, for one, cannot wait to see what they do next. But don't take my word for it. What do you think? Leave a comment down below and let us all know what you think about the game.